Yo, this is a recipe I shared back in 2010, I believe. I've tweaked it over the years, so this is a sort of an updated version of that one. We've also done, not too long ago, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, curry beef with potato, a means of stretching a dish for more people by adding potato and a nice gravy and everything else. But the beef here, in Canada, it's called a blade steak or a blade roast. So I bought a roast, and the reason being is because I wanted the bit of marbling and stuff like that. The tiny bit of fat is great because beef can be, well, it is lean. The sort of silver skin that you're seeing in some pieces there, I'm not too worried about that. This is going to cook anywhere 1.5 to 2.25 hours. I want it really tender, so that's going to break down. Yes, you can do this in your pressure cooker, but as I've indicated before, I am not a fan of pressure cooker. I like low and slow. The beef is cut up into about 2-inch pieces. I am from the Caribbean, so I washed it with cool water and the juice of a lime. I rinsed it off completely. It's nice and relatively dry. And yo, if you wanted to, you can season this and leave it overnight. I'm showing you guys one where you come home from work, you don't have the beef seasoned or anything like that, but you want to extract full curry flavor and you want to get that nice vibe of the beef. In my nice big pot here, I've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a good olive oil. Yo, use whatever oil you guys like using. If you have vegetable oil, corn oil, coconut oil, canola oil, grapeseed oil, whatever it is you guys have, avocado oil, yeah, I mean to say rock that's avocado oil, is up to you. But I just love the flavor from this organic olive oil that I use. My heat is on medium high. I'm going to turn it down to low because I don't want to burn anything. Onion, a nice big whack of garlic. Yo, and there's probably anywhere from 12 to 13 cloves of garlic there. And you notice I just smashed it with the back of my knife, the side of my knife. Since we are not seasoning this and allow it to marinate overnight, what we're going to do is create a sort of a seasoned curry base. And yo, this base will work. You can, if you follow these steps, you can add pork, you can add chicken, you can add whatever protein you want in there. It's totally up to you. You can add vegetables, potato, whatever it is. So it's sort of a base. If you guys are interested, I'm just going to turn up my heat just a little bit more, in creating a curry base from scratch, something you can keep in the fridge and then just toss in whatever protein you want or vegetable. If you're interested in a video doing something like that, a pre-made curry base, Caribbean style, hit me a comment down below and I'll try to get to it. As the fun happens in there, I'm going to go in with my cumin seed or jeera seed, as well as my black pepper. The full list of ingredients will be listed down in the description of the video, and the recipe, the printable version, will be on CaribbeanPot.com in the next few days. So again, low and slow, and we just want to pull out and extract all of that lovely flavor there. If you were seasoning the beef and having it marinate overnight, what I would recommend doing is, and you will see me put those ingredients in here soon, is marinate the beef after you washed it and everything else with the Caribbean green seasoning, the salt, the black pepper, and the anchar masala, which I will add shortly. That will allow it to really develop some flavors and go deep within the, the nook and crannies of the tissues of that beef there, boy. Hey. And speaking about Caribbean green seasoning, Caribbean green seasoning is simply a puree or a blend of all the herbs we like using in the Caribbean, and we keep it in the fridge for occasions such as this. And there's thyme in there, shadow benny, Spanish thyme, scallion. Yo, you can put just about anything you like. I am not a fan of basil, so you'll never see basil in there. I am not a fan of rosemary, so you won't ever see rosemary. However, I am a fan of garlic and pimento peppers. So in my green seasoning, which I use olive oil as the base, thus the vibrant color that you saw there. When you use water or vinegar, it tends to break down the green seasoning, and I really don't like it like that. It's been 2 minutes since I added the Caribbean green seasoning. So it's time to add all of that lovely curry powder. Turn your heat back down to low because we don't want to burn the curry, but we want to pull out all the wonderful flavors, the spices which makes up a good curry powder bring to the game. I would recommend turning up your heat to medium-high now. The curry has gone nice and dark. It's starting to clump together. We're getting the sort of bun on the bottom down there, which is pretty much the curry toasting off in that hot oil. Yeah, we added water in there, and that is 1.5 cups of water. We're just gonna scrape the bottom. Yeah, Uncle Chris using a wooden spoon. Look at thing. Oh gosh, look at the wait. Anyhow, the reason for that, we want to cook out the rawness of the curry. The first step there that we did, and I explain this every time, so you can fast forward if you've seen me make curry dishes before, because the technique is pretty much the same. It's just the protein that we're using is different. The first step we did, we toasted the different spices to pull out all the flavor. This step here is to cook out the rawness of the curry. If you don't do this step here, in my humble opinion, your curry will not taste as good as it should, because you will get that sort of raw sort of at the back of your tongue there. It just won't taste right, and I really want your curry to taste right. Speaking about taste right, we've got to balance things, and the balance I speak about is tomato. And the reason for the tomato, well, two reasons. The acidity in the tomato will help to balance off the flavors here, and this is why we put all that water in there, and we want to bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it and let it simmer for about 7 minutes. Plus the tomato will help give us that thick gravy. Yo, when I'm eating curry beef, I like it with rice or with roti, and I need gravy with it. I want soup, I want gravy, no long water, tin kind of thing. You know what I mean? Anyhow, we're bringing this up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it down to a simmer. And part of building that flavor that I love so much, that there is anchor masala. You will have to check out a Caribbean grocery store, go out and support them, and or check online. You may find it online as well too, anchor masala. And it has, it has these sort of properties of dry roasted cumin or jeera. I just like to show you all something. So most, if not all, of the liquid has gone down. So you're starting to see separation there, and you're thinking, well, yeah, it's probably time to add the beef. I would recommend holding off a little bit more. We want to see more of the oil that we started off with, and then we're gonna add the beef in there. Now, if you look closely, with the risk of getting burned here, you'll see the oil, so it's starting to float on the top there. That is what you're looking for. And if we were to move it, you notice it's starting to stick on the bottom. Let's look at that caramelization down there. So now is where I'm going to start adding my beef to the pot. I didn't change my heat setting because I want to coat and sort of sear the pieces of beef. Make sure every piece is nicely coated. We're going to turn our heat down to medium. We're going to put the lid on, and this beef is going to sprout a ton of juice, its own natural liquid, and that is cool. That is what we were hoping for, because that's going to help develop more flavor. But the lid on, bring it up to a boil, and then reduce it to a simmer. It's been going now for about 8 minutes, and it's pretty vigorous in there on that medium heat. What we're going to do now is again help to intensify the flavor later on. So we need to, and you've seen me do this with quite a few of my recipes. It is the old school traditional way of doing things. We're going to raise the heat up, and we're going to burn off all that liquid, and in the process it's going to infuse the pieces of beef with that deep rich curry flavor. While that happens, we're going to go in with salt. Later on we can taste it and adjust that salt, because remember, we didn't season and marinate it overnight, right? But again, like I said, if you wanted to season it and marinate it overnight, by all means, you can do that. It will take a few minutes with the lid off and the heat on high. Just remember to keep using your spoon to sort of scrape the bottom there. We're not trying to burn anything at this point. And it does look delicious. But I'm telling you, this here is very tough. It's only been cooking for about 20 minutes or so. So we need to put water in there to braise it. And I know some people will be like, Chris, how about some beef stock? Yeah, you can, but I man try to keep it original, try to keep it traditional to the way I grew up seeing my mom and my grandma and everybody else make curry beef. So this is why I will stick to water, and I think by adding the stock it changes the sort of curry game. This is curry beef we're making. And while my Caribbean green seasoning already has thyme in there, I like to enhance the flavor, sort of build on it, so more fresh thyme. I like adding a couple bay leaves in there, as well as some dried curry leaves that I have. If you wanted to add some ginger in there, if you wanted to add a stick of cinnamon in there, any of those things will work great. I'll top it up with some more water. We want about anywhere between 6 and 8 cups of water in there. We're gonna bring it up to a boil, and then we're gonna allow it to braise. But before we do, a key ingredient, Scotch bonnet pepper. Yeah, we got to put that. We're gonna float that Scotch bonnet pepper in there, simply because later on I will break it, because I want the heat, I want the fire. I love spicy food. There's no two ways about it. But later on, once you don't break it, be very careful not to break it. What we're gonna do is fish it out. We're gonna get all the flavor, and I keep using the word flavor and layers of flavor and stuff like that, but and I don't mean to be repetitive. It's just that I really want to hit home how good this curry beef is. Yeah, I added more water as I said I would. Just gonna scrape the sides and the bottom a little bit. We're gonna bring it up to a boil, and then all we're gonna do is reduce it to a simmer, but we're gonna put the lid on with about 1 centimeter or so vent for it to vent and not create too much steam. It's been going for about an hour and a half. I ended up adding another cup of water in there. Few things, and this is where we're gonna start personalizing things. After the 1.5 hour mark, so 19-minute mark, you have a few options here. If the beef is tender, you can raise up the heat, turn up the heat, and reduce the gravy to the sort of consistency you want. In the process of doing so, you really want to taste it for salt and adjust the salt to your own liking. The third thing is, you can fish the pepper out at this point. I man want the heat, so I'm gonna smash that pepper. The sprigs of thyme and the bay leaf, like for instance the bay leaf here, you can fish that out, discard it, straight in the rubbish. It's done its job. We're very thankful for it, but we're not trying to serve it with these big old pieces of bay leaf and the sprigs of thyme like you're seeing here. No, we ain't trying to, nah man, we ain't pressing nobody with that. Anyhow, so those are the sort of personalizations. The thickness of the gravy, the tenderness of the beef, the break the pepper or remove it, and remove these things. If you had cinnamon stick in there, you want to remove it. The ginger, if you had put ginger in here, and when putting the ginger, you had two options. Thick slices so you can fish it out after, or you grate the ginger in there. It's been another 10 minutes after I cranked up the heat to thicken up the gravy. And you notice earlier, I talked about that gravy, about the tomato and the onion and everything else. Yo, how do left-handed people do it, boy? Wow, that's strange. Anyhow, you notice that gravy there? We have one more thing I like to add in here to kind of kick things up and to finish off with that nice herbal note. Now typically it would be shadow benny or culantro. I don't have any at the moment. However, what I do have is cilantro. A nice big whack of that cilantro, and we're just gonna mix that in. Sup soldiers? Listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me, email address down here. I ain't trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pod. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie? Keeping in mind that this will thicken up even further as the pot cools down, plus the residual heat in the pot there will thicken things up. I'm going to shut it off. Remember, taste it for salt. Just look at that niceness now. Just and the gravy. And I'm telling you, fork tender. You notice how it's starting to fall apart there? Just look at that. Chris, you outdone yourself again today, partner. Friends, it's always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. I do hope you get the opportunity to give this curry beef a try. As mentioned earlier, we do have the curry beef with potato recipe on CaribbeanPod.com and the video at youtube.com/CaribbeanPod. What's up, soldiers? Don't forget to click subscribe. If you've already clicked subscribe, hit that bell notification thing. I want to all you missing out on the new videos, man. Come on, click.